You were born in Parkes? Or is it Trundle?
No, Parkes.
Parkes. But you lived in...
Trundle for a little while until I was, I suppose I was about 10 or 11 when we went to Parkes after that to the hotel. Oh, I can remember Trundle quite well. We lived next door to Uncle Jack and Auntie Powell. My cousins, Rhana, Jean, Margie, they lived next door to us. And Uncle Jack and Dad, they had a stock and station agency. And I went to school in Trundle, I've got a photo at home of me sitting down the front row outside the little old school. And, yeah, got a photo at home of me there somewhere. And Rhana Jean, not Margie wasn't there, because Margie was older than us. I think she'd come to Sydney to go to school in Sydney. She was up to high school standard, I think, by then. But Rhana and Jean, they were in the same photo with me. But my father was, my brother John, he was the only male. Yeah. I remember my father telling me, he said to his father, "What do you think of the boy, father?" He said, "He's very good, son, very good." He was an old Cornishman. And he said, "Did you wet his head?" He said, "Son, I Danny drown him."
So what was Uncle John like as a kid?
Very clever at everything. He was one of those smart cookies, but he was always an artist. Right from the word go. First time he got a pencil in his hand, he drew a cat.
Mm.
When he was a tiny little fella.
Yeah.
Yes, he did very well in the art world. He worked for Darryl Lee's. Remember? You ever heard of Darryl Lee's, the chocolate people?
Yeah, still going.
Are they?
Yeah.
Well, they had shops all over Sydney, but then the one I think it was the one in Pitt Street. And he worked with a chap called is it awful? I can't think of his name. Mac McGilvray. That was his name, Mac McGilvray.
Yeah.
And he was an artist. They were both, and they worked in the arts department there. And all those tickets, the window tickets, they were all done by hand in those days.
Yeah.
And they did for all those shops. He and Mac did them all. He was a clever artist, John, very clever. He was a year and 6 months younger than me, a year and 4 months younger than me. And he was a talented bloke too. Could sing and play the piano. He never had a lesson in his life. He could sit down and play the piano and sing, and he was good fun. He was a real comedian, you know. All his offspring, his sons and daughters, they could all draw like that too. Annie Medlyn was great. She could draw very well. But they never took it on, any of them, as a livelihood like he did, you know.
And when did you start singing?
Oh, since I was about 7 years of age. Because my mother, she had a glorious voice, beautiful. And when we lived in little old Trundle, she used to put on concerts, and we used to all appear in those. Yes. One concert that Mum put on, and we were all across the stage in these costumes. And I said to Ren, "What were you?" She said, "I don't know. I think we were all kinds of fruit and say." I said, "I was an old-fashioned tomato." Long Island potato, and yes, we have no bananas. We have no bananas today. Sunbird, and all kinds of fruit and say. That was my bit. She had us all dressed up, whatever we were, and I had a basket of fruit on my head with grapes hanging out of it, and leaves. She had great imagination, my mother. Very artistic she was.
Yeah, lovely.
And then from Trundle, when the old grandfather died, old John Medlyn, he left the hotel to Dad and Uncle Jack. So Uncle Jack stayed in Trundle to look after the stock and station agency, and Dad and Mum, we went into Parkes to manage the hotel. I came to Sydney. There was a little fella who used to come to the hotel to board. He was a traveller for one of the whisky companies. And he got in touch with me and used to take me out a bit, and he took me out to this thing called the Polynesian Club. They used to meet every now and then in the city and have a night, and they'd all do all their Polynesian songs and dances and so forth. Carmen was there. She and Dennis Palmerston, her husband, they belonged to this Polynesian club. How they got there, I don't know. The chap who ran it, he wasn't a Polynesian, and I think he was a friend of theirs. He became her first husband, Carmen, Dennis Palmerston, and he played the organ when they first started in the theatres. He used to play he was a fabulous musician, and he and Carmen used to play the piano together for the Polynesian club, And they used to have guitars and all that sort of thing, but when we'd go and have a dance, Carmen and Dennis Palmerston would play the pianos. Anyhow, she said to me, second time I went, had to go back again, she said to me, do you know so-and-so? Whatever the song was, I forget now. And I said, yes. She said, come over to the piano with me, because there was a lull in the proceedings, So I went over and we sang it, and she sang in harmony with me. Oh, and they all clapped, and they thought it was wonderful. She was a fine musician. She was a great pianist. She knew music very well. She'd studied anyhow, the next thing we know, a chap called Bill Beattie. He was an announcer down at 2SM. He was Len Moran's friend, and he came up. We went out to Carmen's place then, and put a couple of numbers together, arranged them, And so he came down this night because Len Moran said to him, "Come down and have a listen to these girls." He said, "They're really good." So that's how we started on our career. He got us an audition down to see John Dunn at 2SM. He was the station manager. We sang for them, and we started off within about 2 weeks from that, and we went on from there. We had eventually 3 sessions a week, because 2SM was a big thing in those days. And John Dunn was the station manager, and he had visions, big ideas. And they were the first radio station to have musical programs, and they had a little theaterette. It was very modern. It was the first radio station that had all this modern stuff. They didn't have anything. And then they had an orchestra. He got an orchestra together, and he used to conduct it, John Dunn. He loved music. Tuesday night was a musical comedy, and somebody wrote it and wrote the music for it, and they put a different one on every week, would you believe? You had to have a new program, and nothing was recorded in those days. And I'm talking about when I was 17, 18. And then on Wednesday night, we sang in the musical comedy. We had a spot in that, Carmen and I. And then on Wednesday night, we had a session with a chap called Walter Kingsley. Now, he was a very well-known singer, baritone, very well-known. And another little fellow called Freddie Webber, who was a great pianist and could sing quite well. He was quite well-known around, but Walter Kingsley was very well-known. The family was very well-known. And then Carmen and I. And with the 4 of us, we made up a session with the 4 of us. Freddie Webber played the piano. Carmen, of course, they'd play two pianos. And then Carmen and I would sing. Freddie and I would sing. Walter Kingsley and Freddie would sing. Walter would sing on his own. I'd sing on my own. Walter and I'd sing together. We had an absolute bag full of talents, Everybody could do something. And, of course, John Dunn, the station manager, could see all this. He was a clever fellow. He could see all this. So that's how I started off. How I got into the game was through meeting Carmen at the Polynesian Club. And she only went there because she knew Len Moran. And he'd never been outside Australia in his life, Len Moran. And what he knew about Polynesia and the islands was just nobody's business. And, of course, he started that up. And then they had, they'd have the girls, all the island girls that belonged to the club come, they'd bring their skirts and stuff, and they'd do a hula and all the island dances. And then we danced around, had a dance, then Carmen and I sang and something. It was a good night out, that, at the Polynesian Club. Not that we earned any money from it, was just, but that's how I got a start. I I did do a stint at the picture theatre, the Prince Edward.
Prince Edward doesn't exist anymore.
No, it doesn't. Oh, no. That was big time, big theatre. And I had a big full-time band. I sang
Is
there.
that the one where you used to do it before the movies?
Yes, yeah. I did that there for a
Was
while.
that one where you had to be on a big swing or something?
That's right.
Yeah?
Yes.
What's that about? It was...
I think I was singing Alice Blue Gown, which was a sweet little Alice Blue Gown. And I had a blue gown and a big hat and so forth, big, big flowery hat. And I used to sit on a swing, and the boys would hold it back, stagehands at the back, hold it back, while the screen went up and the curtains went out, and then they'd let it go, and the band would start up, and I'd swing out on the swing, and I had a blue gown on, of course, and I sang Sweet Little Alice Blue Gown. But the first time we did it, I had my heart in my mouth. I didn't know how I was going to sing, because with behind the picture screen, which is huge, it's very thick through, then there was this great big stage at the back. And they held me on the swing right at the back, and it let it go, and it swung right out over the. And one, I think about the second night that I did it, I learned from that. One of my shoes flew off and over the audience. So of course I used to put elastic bands around them there. Yeah. And at the same time as I was doing that, I was singing in a little nightclub called Graham's. Linny Smith, he was a Parkes boy. He was the drummer in the band there. There were two pianos in the band, in the orchestra there. It was a very popular nightclub, beautiful place. So I sang down there used to come off the stage, the Prince Edward, and go down there and sing with the band down there. And then Carmen and I we started to get the work with the 2SM, and of course we were so busy with that. And of course the stint on the stage finished at the Prince Edward. I think I did 2 seasons there.
And about the Double T Eucalyptus Twins bit?
That was Carmen and I, yes.
What, the 2SM?
Yeah.
What were they were sponsoring the show?
They were sponsoring the show.
You had to write the jingle, didn't you?
No, we didn't write that. No, we didn't. That was already written for that, and we made our own arrangement of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had a session of our own. On Monday night we had the session with Freddie Webber and no, Monday night was the operetta type thing, the musical comedy type thing, and then Tuesday night was Freddie Webber and Walter Kingsley, and then on Wednesday night we had our own session with John Dunn, who was the station manager, as our compere. And that's where that funny story came from. Uncle John took us off. He said, and at the end of the session, that John Dunn say, "Well, thank you, Carmen and Rhana. Good night, Carmen." And this is Uncle John. Good night, Mr. Dunn. Good night, Rhana. Good night, Mr. Dunn. He used to take me off. I had such a flat voice, Somewhere I was singing, and one of the girls that was there said to me, "Do you sing anything else but popular music?" And I said, "No, I do. Yes, I do." I said, "I sing ballads and everything." She said, "Do you sing operatic sort of music?" I said, "Oh, no, not really." So she said, "Well, come down in my lunch hour," she said. "Meet me in my lunch hour, and I'll take you to meet Maestro Aldrovandi. He's an elderly Italian man, and he is a wonderful teacher. I'd like him to hear you." So I went with this girl. I can't think of her name now. I went with this girl, and he said, "Yes, I will teach you. You are very good. You will be good." So that's how I came to start the series. I always sang ballads, always, because my mother was a ballad singer, I always sang popular ballads and popular songs from those days. But I'd never sang operatic music, That's where I met my friend Lorna. She said she was waiting out in the corridor out in the waiting room, and she could hear this voice from inside, thinking how wonderful it was. And when I came out, she battened onto me. She said, Maestro, would you introduce him to this lady? She said she's got a wonderful voice and so forth. So we got together and...
Where did you live during all this period? Who did you live with?
Mum and Dad and John at King's Cross. We lived in a flat at King's Cross. Well, Bayswater Road.
Bayswater Road.
Bayswater Road. It was just down from the cross, only a couple of half a dozen places down. And it went right through from Bayswater Road to... No, the street behind the hospital. Whatever, anyhow. But there were about 6 or 8 blocks of flats. And ours was called the Omeo.
The Omeo?
Yeah.
That's still there, I think.
Is it? Well,
I think it's still there.
Well, the Omeo was still there. There were about 3 or 4 blocks of flats first side and 3 or 4 down that side. And it had palms down the middle of it. The street, yeah. We lived there for quite a long time. After 2SM, we were 2 years at 2SM. We had a contract for 2 years. And then we went... How do we do then? Then we went, Carmen and I went around the Western Suburbs theatres because they all had a Wurlitzer organ in them and a stage show on, I think, Wednesdays and Saturday nights. And how we got onto that was Carmen's, by this time he was a husband, Dennis Palmerston. He was a fabulous organ player. These beautiful Wurlitzer organs. They took them all out. There's only one here and there. Why they took them out, I don't know. They were beautiful. And we did a couple of times round the theatres, the picture theatres, with a show. They were the main thing. They went right up to Parramatta. And we say if you did the circuit, it was quite a few weeks of work each time, you know. Mm. We did it. We in one time we did it with we got another girl in. We made a trio of it. Beryl Cansdale, her name was, and she could sing, and her sister Dolly Cansdale, she sang in the Sun aria. Yes, she sang in that, and she was. There were only 8 singers who sang in the finals out of all those hundreds of singers. I've got the thing at home somewhere. Mm. Yeah, somewhere I've got it with where. Yes, and first of all you had to sing an aria at the conservatorium, at the theatre at the theatre there, and then then you went up if you got high enough marks and went into the semi-finals. You sang at the conservatorium again, but then the next time you had to sing at the you were chosen. There were 300 and something voices in for that, and I was one of 8 singers chosen out of that, and I came 4th. Mm-hmm. Her sister, Beryl Cansdale, who we had got into it, she could sing. We had to have somebody who could sing a natural harmony because we were so busy. We had so much work in those days that you didn't have time to teach someone a harmony. They had to be able to sing.
Knock it off.
Yeah. Right. We arranged our music, arranged the songs and so forth, but we never had to teach Beryl to sing. She was very nice girl. Carmen's a big tall girl with black hair. Beryl was a big girl, fattish sort of girl, and she had blonde hair, but I was this little squirt in the middle of them. Oh dear. We did this once around the Western Suburbs theatres, and she came with us on this circuit, this tour we did of the Western Suburbs theatres, and we sang. The curtains went up, and we were sitting on a garden seat on the stage, and we had crinoline gowns on and big poke bonnets sort of thing, and we sang an old-fashioned, a lot of 3-part harmony in. I'm thinking the name of the song now. And then the lights went out, and we were sitting on a garden seat, and then the lights went out, and we stripped with the dresses had big press studs down the back. We ripped them off, ripped the hats off, and threw them over at the back of the garden seat, and there we were revealed in the modern evening gown, and we sang a pop song.
Ah.
I think it was Parramatta, the Roxy at Parramatta. It was a big old theatre it was, even in those days. I was there now, don't think so. And this was a very big stage. So we did it there, and when we threw and the lights went out, and we ripped off the things, ripped them and threw them over onto as we thought, behind the garden seat. And then, of course, they didn't reach there because it was such a big stage. There they were. The stage was littered with these dresses. Well, the Parramatta crowd, didn't you think they gave us the run? When we sang then, we got such a big hand at the end of that. The manager of the Roxy Theatre, he said, I think you better try and do that every night. He said it was such a success. Some of the theatres we only sang Wednesdays and Saturday nights for that, because in those days, the picture theatres weren't on every night in the week.
So what Gone to the Dogs? Do you remember you were in the movie Gone to the Dogs?
Gone to the Dogs with George Wallace, yes. Clap your hands and shout hooray, for Lady Luck is dropping in today. Come and join the Jubilee, we're heading for prosperity. Gone to the Dogs. Yeah, we sang the music for that. We had to come, the three of us girls, we were riding bicycles, ladies' bikes, and we had to come down the pathway into the scene, and then gracefully get off the bicycle. The very first time we did it, I got caught up on the bicycle seat. Stop! The redactor said. He said, well, that was very well done, Rhana. He said, I'll bet you couldn't do it again, could you? I said, no. He said, do you think you could do it without doing that? Oh, dear.